What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I want to discuss with you a interesting topic that we keep seeing all over the internet right now. People who are not technical are creating web apps and apparently making millions of dollars selling these applications. I want to discuss whether I believe this is possible or not. What is the reality behind these applications? Can somebody who's not technical nowadays actually create a SaaS product and try to sell it? Or are we still far away from this dream that we're being sold? If you're here for the first time, my name is Serop. I've been in development and AI and data science for over 7 years now. And I started my AI development agency called Neuronics for almost a year now. And for the past 1 month, I started to share my experience on YouTube because I started to notice a lot of people either lying or faking some results or just trying to hype every single LLM version update, which it started to get on all of our nerves, I think. I think we all believe there's a lot of potential for AI and we can see some really impressive stuff, but we're also very tired of the whole hype and the whole people just really focusing on the wrong things. So with that being said, let's dive into the topic and I will share with you my experience building actual platforms using these text to app tools and where I see the limitation is and how useful actually can they be for a normal person to be able to deploy an application and sell it to users. So the first time I used Lovable, I'm going to focus on Lovable Bolt.new. I don't know if it's still, I'm sure it's still out there competing, but these two tools that I've used heavily, and recently I keep hearing about Replit. I actually haven't tried it yet. I keep hearing that people are now building SaaS products and selling them just by basically vibe coding the whole way through Lovable and trying to create SaaS out of it. And my experience have been, you're probably not going to like this. I am a big fan of these tools, I have to say. You probably expected me to just be so horrible and say, hey, these tools are all fake or whatever. I'm actually a big fan of these tools. I have to say, especially Lovable, I am terrible at creating things from scratch. Like I just suck at looking at a white page and then thinking, hey, this is where this should go. This is where this should go. It should have this color. I'm a person who, if I can see stuff that are pretty, I know that, hey, this is very beautiful. I have a good eye for design, but I cannot create design. I can just judge other people's design. I don't know if that makes sense. But these tools, for example, they help me a lot if I have an idea for a SaaS. I really don't have imagination enough to create something out of nothing. They are now creating the first template for me, and then I can use this template to start developing on my own and try to like breathe life into this application basically. When I started using Lovable, the first template that it gives you is good enough. It's also pretty, it looks nice, but in my experience, it has been, this is where I stop. I don't ask the AI to do anything else because in most cases, I'm sure they are now, these guys are evolving like exponentially every month. But the last time I tried to use them, like literally after the first design, the moment you say, okay, connect it to a database or do something for me, it starts deleting code and it goes crazy. So that was very frustrating. And I was like, okay, let's just stick to the first template, send it to GitHub, which is this repository where you put your code, install it locally, and then just start continuing on my own. And actually the secret, I didn't continue on my own. I used Cursor. So also like it has code editor. It's maybe, I mean, if you're a technical, you know what I'm talking about. And in Cursor, you have like a chat inside your app, and then you have an agent that has access to all your files. And this was mind blowing to me, to be able right now to just ask it to do something and then be able to do a lot of different things. So far on the front end, on the visual sides, it can make stuff really good. It struggles a little bit on the back end, on the logic. I'm sure it will start to get improved the more the LLMs are improving with time. But I had to do a lot of stuff and I had to do a lot of thinking for it. So if you just tell it, hey, build me this, it fails. But if you say, okay, build me this very small step, and then from this very small step, now you need to add this, and then you need to add this. And this is how I built most of the applications, by giving it exactly very small instructions as if it was a junior developer, not able to think about the system, not able to think about the dependencies of the different things, and just know that it's going to fail a lot and it's going to cause a lot of problems. But it's generally giving me like 50% improvement in speed. And if you're actually evaluating the code and then not just accepting everything it's doing, then you're on the safe side and you already have written so much quicker a lot of code. With that being said, we were able to maybe launch a couple MVPs. Maybe it would have taken us 300 hours. We managed to do it in 150. I see a lot of boost in speed, but I can never imagine a person who doesn't know code to be able to launch what I launched just purely by talking to these AI, especially if something is a little bit complicated. So if you're non-technical and then you see the dashboard or the user interface changing, and then you ask it to do something else and you see it is changing again, that's easy to do. That's not so difficult. And I think you can succeed by doing that. But the moment there's some complicated logic behind the scenes, and usually most of the stuff has some complicated logic, then you need maybe other tools. I see now people maybe building the front end with Lovable and Cursor, and then all the back end with N8N. You might come across some maybe efficiency, scalability issues, but if it works, it works. You just need to make sure you have stuff secured and don't have like some webhooks that are open to everybody so people can hack you and like call your webhooks. So you need to read a little bit about it, especially before you start enrolling users. I think the reality is somewhere in between. If you're not a technical person, you can create at least your idea to have a very small proof of concept. I don't think we're there yet to have an MVP, like a minimal viable product. I don't think you were able to create one by yourself. You need a developer, but just a proof of concept, something to show people around, a landing page, really easy, that take you maybe one day to create. I think the technology is there already. It saves you time. Let's say you're a founder who already has an idea for an app and you are in love with this design you just designed. Rather than in the past, you usually design it in Figma and then you show it to the designers and then you hope that they can replicate. Right now, you can create the app for them in React and then say, hey, this is the template, make it alive. Then you know that your design is already there and they're going to continue from where you stopped. And this is what I see is actually quite valuable. Also for the communication between the vision and what's actually live. But I've seen people like vibe coding all the way through development. It does work, but they eventually learned code. They started as vibe coders and they realized like just by prompting the AI is not possible. So with time, with exposure, they just started to understand the code that they're writing and they started to learn like, oh yeah, this is this. I mean, code is not so hard. You can just learn it by practicing. And if you're practicing in front of the screen all this time, vibe coding, you're going to end up learning the code, maybe even more efficient than the way we used to learn the code. For people who say they are just vibe coders, maybe they are now normal coders, but they haven't noticed yet. So that's like the difference that I see actually. So I see a lot of value. The thing that, do I think you can now create web apps and sell them to other people if you're not really technical? No, I wouldn't think the technology is there yet. The only thing I see that maybe you can pull off and sell as a service to others is creating landing pages. And I do agree that right now AI is creating some really nice landing pages. And if you can figure out how to create a domain and then hook it up with some cloud provider or just provide this whole thing as a service for somebody who is not technical and tell them, I'm going to create something beautiful for you. I will host it. I will give you a domain for yourself. I will do the whole service for you. I see this as a service that you can provide for people without being technical. You can just prompt. Even Lovable is good enough to say, hey, design me a landing page. This is what it should look like. These are the designs. And then you can sell this. I think the opportunity lies in here. For example, when I started, I knew how to write React code, but not good enough to create my website. And if you saw like pictures of my website, it looks so impressive and stuff. It took me some time. I know code. I know how to make it a little bit nicer, but I have to give credit to Lovable and Cursor. It was due to them that the website looks so pretty in such a short amount of time. It took me maybe 2 weeks to create the website with everything. I know people that took them 3 months and they were using a template from maybe WordPress and it took them 3 months to build their website. So I think it's a massive advantage to use these tools, especially if you're a developer. Now the world is yours basically to be able to create and iterate. But this actually, just because we're now way more productive in output, I don't think we are investigating the correct amount of time in building the right things. I heard a lot of stories now from founders. For example, they were trying to sell products and they created like 10 landing pages for their products, and they were trying to sell for dentists and sell for this, me included. This is how I also started. I created like 5 landing pages, one for solar energy business and one for dentists. And I was just all over the place in my value proposition. Just because I can create landing pages so quickly, it just made me not create the right things. And if anything, I looked more confused than if I didn't add anything. So that's something also to keep in mind. Just because you can now create things, it doesn't mean you're creating the right things. It made me definitely think that all this time was maybe wasted for nothing, and it might as well didn't even spend any money or energy on creating landing pages for stuff that I didn't end up pursuing. So yeah, this is basically my opinion from different angles. I think it's a very powerful tool. Use it as much as you can. If you're not in technical, maybe partner up with somebody or pay some developers to make your idea come to life. But you can already start maybe building a small MVP or small proof of concept to show them like, hey, this is what I want to be built. I hope you like this video. I think this topic is very polarizing nowadays, so would love to hear your comments. Make sure to let me know what is your experience working with these tools are, and where do you think the opportunity actually lies in. That's it from my side, and see you in the next video.